Hello and welcome back to the Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Ben Aiton, and Mike Duffy. We're back after a little breakaway from Voices of the Vic. We've just been really busy and haven't been able to put anything out there for you guys, unfortunately. But we are back, and unfortunately, we're back for a defeat to discuss, and it's Watford's 1-0 defeat away at Sheffield United yesterday. But first, let's speak to Mike. Mike, you was there yesterday. How are you doing, and how was the day?
Yeah, it's good to be back after a little break, as you say. But yeah, it was all right. You know, Sheffield United. I've not done it. I worked out yesterday. I've not done it since 2004. So good to be back there. It's a good little ground. Well, not little. There was like 30-odd thousand there yesterday, but it's a good ground. And I think a draw was probably a fair result, but in the end, they snatched it, and I suppose that's why they're seconds. And you know, they're able to put in their goalmouth scrambles, whereas we weren't. So, yeah, frustrating, but good to be back doing an away day, and hopefully won't be long before I'm back at another Watford game soon.
Yeah, you talking about the stadium? It was it's an old-fashioned stadium, isn't it? So it's quite tight to a pitch, and the stands are massive as well, especially that Kop end behind the goal on to the right when you're looking from the TV cameras. Really good atmosphere there as well. Even pre-match, they've got that song, haven't they, that everyone sings along to, and it's kind of spine-tingling stuff. I've been to Sheffield United once, and I think it was when we was back in the Prem. Was it under Boothroyd? Possibly, I was up there, and I think it was a narrow 1-0 defeat. But yeah, great city, and it's a massive city as well, and they're kind of, due to the size of the city, Mike, would you say that they're probably a team that a city that big should maybe have a Premier League side?
Yeah, well, for years they had Sheffield Wednesday sort of up there, and they were a massive, massive side. And you look at the size of Hillsborough as well, and big club, definitely too big to be in League One. But in recent years, it's Sheffield United that's sort of taken that baton and sort of, I know Sheffield Wednesday won't be looking at it as we've passed the baton to them, but they've sort of taken the reins on it a little bit in the last few years. And they had a really good stab at the Premier League a few seasons ago, and then completely fell apart in the lockdown season. So, yeah, you know, should really have a team up in the Premier League, as you say, and it's looking like that it's going to be a host of a Premier League team very soon again. You know, I think yesterday, especially with Middlesbrough losing to West Brom, which I didn't see coming at all, I think that opened up a 7-point gap between them and Middlesbrough. And I think they've still got a game in hand over Middlesbrough as well. So I would say that's pretty much, you know, wrapped up the top two, I would say. But the Championship's a weird and wonderful league, so you never know what's going to happen.
I was kind of annoyed with myself yesterday. I don't know if you saw it at pre-match. I actually predicted that Watford would narrowly lose in a 1-0 defeat to Sheffield United, and I've done it a few times this season where I'd say it out loud for the scoreline, or I'll tweet it, and it actually comes in. So maybe going forward, I should stick maybe a fiver on it, and I might be up at the end of the season. But yeah, I was kicking myself yesterday. There was something about it yesterday. We was heading to Bramwell Lane. Sheffield United were on the back of two back-to-back defeats for the first time this season, and you just knew they had to respond yesterday, especially at home in front of their crowd. And Watford, it's been a bit iffy with Watford lately. Okay, we picked up the 3 points against West Brom on Monday night, but it wasn't a pretty performance again, and there was concerning moments in that game as well. With you heading to the game yesterday, Mike, were you concerned with playing Sheffield United and thinking, cool, okay, they've lost their last two games, but they can easily turn up and get 3 points against Watford?
Yeah, well, I took my missus and another 1-0 defeat at the previous game she went to. We lost 1-0 as well. So I think there's a theme sort of occurring here. And we go into bloody Coventry on Easter Monday as well. So if you're planning on getting tickets for that, steer clear, because we're going to lose 1-0, I think. But even she saw it. You know, she said, how have Sheffield United been doing? And I said, they're second, but they've lost the last two games. And she said, well, they'll be well up for it today. And I thought, absolutely they will. So, yeah, there was always that sort of fear in the back of my mind. But I also, on the other hand, thought, well, we've got players coming back. I expected Loser to start, which he did. And really, when you look at our team, when they're all fully fit, we should be one of the better teams in the league. So there was a part of me that was quietly confident, and our record against the teams sort of around us this season has been brilliant. You look at the teams we've lost to, and it tends to be the teams sort of mid-table, bottom half of the table. But we've drawn and beat Burnley. We beat Sheffield United. Obviously, they beat us yesterday, but we beat them at the start of the season. We've done the double over Norwich. So we get results against the so-called big teams in this league. So I was quietly confident, but I'd have snapped your hand off at a 1-1 draw before the game. I think I said that in our group chat, but it wasn't to be. Sheffield United showed why they're second in the league, and luck wasn't on our side at all yesterday. Because the goal was the other end of where we were sat, you didn't quite see how scrappy it was. Obviously, I knew it was scrappy because it was a goalmouth scramble, but I've seen a replay of it, and that happens when you looks out. You can see goals like that, and it's typical. We had a chance right at the end as well, which was quite similar, and it just would not drop to the right person. It could have dropped to anyone. We just couldn't connect. So it was one of them games, and having Keith Stroud in charge as well, the referee, he's horrendous. He shouldn't be refereeing at this level. And I'm pretty sure he's a Luton fan as well. So
I think he was I think he was influenced by the home support on a couple of occasions yesterday. I can't remember exactly the moment, but there was I think Watford committed a foul. It was a foul, but he didn't award it, and the lino didn't award it. But once Ollie McBurney was in the referee's ear, he pulled up straight away. And,
it was for the Porteous yellow
and then he booked the Watford player as well, didn't he?
Yeah, that was when Porteous got booked. And my brother said exactly the same thing. He played on, and he was like looking, carrying on as if to say, I've seen it, but I'm not giving it. And the crowd were booing and jeering. And then he blew the whistle. And I thought, what? You can't just give in to the crowd like that. So, it's crap to see stuff like that.
And then that's why he refs in the Championship, isn't it? Because it's not good enough of a top league, and he showed yesterday that he's not good enough. But also maybe we'll talk about a refereeing decision as well in that first half. Mike, in your eyes, I know it was up the other end of the pitch, but there was a penalty shout for Watford as well, and Keenan Davis went down in the penalty box. I think he was just out-muscled, wasn't he? For me, it wasn't a penalty. What was your views on it?
I haven't seen a replay of it, so I don't know. But in real time, obviously, we all appealed for it. I don't think there was much in it, though. Like I say, I've not seen a replay, but the players certainly seemed adamant they should have had a penalty. And I think Andrew French put something out as well, saying that Bilic sort of asked the question at the time of the fourth official, and he said it was just an excessive shoulder barge, or the explanation he was given didn't make sense. And it's just like, if he's being told that, then what's going on. So I don't think there was much in it, to be honest. But one of them days in the office, I think.
Yeah, Joe Thomas is watching today, and he says never a pen. He just needs to be stronger in those situations. And I think Keenan Davis splits the room a little bit amongst Watford fans at the moment, doesn't he, Mike? I put out a tweet yesterday, and I'll read through the replies after I've got your thoughts on Keenan Davis and his performance yesterday. Well, firstly, what did you think of his performance yesterday? Because looking at it overall, he should have walked away with at least one goal yesterday.
100%. Are you referring to the header from the corner?
The header in the first half from Ken Sem across,
100%. 100% should have put that away. And he's just showing signs of a striker which has got no confidence at the moment. I saw someone reply to one of those. I don't know if you was going to read this one out. Apologies if you were.
There's so many of them, so feel free.
He said he just needs one to go in off his shin from a yard out. And that it's quite funny because literally that almost happened yesterday in the second half. I can't remember which build-up of play it was, but it literally took a bobble. And Davis, all he had to do, if he was a yard closer to the goal, he'd have it had hit off his knee and gone in. You just need it to go in. It doesn't matter how. And he's showing classic signs of a player with no confidence at the moment in front of goal. He had 2 golden opportunities against West Brom. Should have scored those. Had that chance yesterday from the header. And I think I said this at the start when he first come in. I was never expecting him to come in and score us 10, 15 goals. He's not that type of striker. You know, you watch him at Forest, he scored the same amount of goals as he has so far for Watford. He scored 4 goals for Forest. And he was never one where they thought, right, you know, you go and get all the goals. He brings in other players. But when your most creative player in João Pedro is having to drop deep, it sort of defeats the object. If he can play a bit closer to João, and, you know, he receives a ball in, he's looking out wide, plays João through or plays it out wide, and then we get bodies in the box, yes, that would work. But I just feel that the way that we play at the moment, there's no particular pattern or style of play. And I think that's been the case since Bilic has come in. I've not seen a massive shift in the way we've played from under Rob Edwards to how we play under Bilic. And I think that is the downfall for Keinan Davis, because he is very much a striker that brings others into play. But when he's got no one around him to bring into play, it doesn't help. And I think too many people are relying on Davis to get us goals. And yeah, it sounds crazy to say he's not that type of striker, because a striker's job is to score goals. But we've got other players in that team that can score goals, providing that we give Davis a service. His hold-up play is brilliant. Best hold-up play I've seen since Troy in his pump at Watford. The ball just sticks to him like glue. And he went on a bit of a run yesterday in the second half where he probably waltzed through about 2-3 players and then played them in. And then we didn't do anything with it. And it's just so frustrating because there is a player in there. But yeah, it's tough to watch at the moment. Like I say, he just needs a goal. Doesn't matter how he gets it, just needs a goal.
Yeah, well, before I mention everyone's views on Twitter yesterday when I put out the poll or to find out what everyone thought of Keinan Davis, my opinion is with Davis, yeah, brilliant at holding the ball up. I think he's one of the best in the leagues at doing that. I think he needs people to work closer to him. At times he's very isolated and he's got to do a lot on his own. So I think he needs more help, and he might get more help from João Pedro if he focused a bit further up the pitch instead of trying to go deeper to try and find the ball. I think once Keinan Davis has got the ball as well, I think he releases the ball too slowly at times as well. If he released it quicker, I think that would benefit the team. But for a striker, the goal tally for him is poor. He's got 4 goals. His last goal was back in October against Luton. For a striker, I think he's played 14 games since then. Okay, he's been in and out the side due to injury, but we can't keep going back to saying he's got fitness issues and that. He's a professional footballer. At the end of the day, it shouldn't take him too long to get back up to speed to be fit. So that's my thoughts on Keinan Davis. And I've seen lots of people on here saying about his overall record for a striker is pretty poor as well. He doesn't tend to score too many goals or actually assist his teammates either. I'll only run through a few because we got about 30 replies yesterday. Jack was the first one who jumped in yesterday saying good player, obviously lacking confidence. Time for Arohu to come and get a run of games. Not sure why Assombalonga was brought on instead of him. Keenan Rees says decent at everything apart from finishing. Probably a good thing that the side are going backwards in the table so we don't have to pay £15 million for him. Luke Gray says does good work for the team clearly, but the facts are he scored the same amount of goals as Bayo this season, and needs to be dropped for his own confidence. Peter Olsen says he is a very good player, and when he's on his game, he's probably one of the best in the championship. But his confidence in front of goal is 0. We need more from him. Aidan says very poor, nowhere near the level we expected him when he joined. Looked unfit all season and has been toothless in front of goals. Carries and holds a ball well, but that's about it. Same number as goals as Bayo. Frankie Holiday says not good enough, probably better in deeper role because his overall finishing and box awareness is awful. And it continues. There's so many replies and they're all along the similar lines of each other. But what would you do with Keinan Davis now, Mike? We've got Preston North End coming up next Saturday. It's a game where you would go into it thinking it's a winnable game. Would you look to maybe play Keenan Davis again to try and get him to get that goal again, or would you, for his sake, take him out the side and play Arohu?
Yeah, it's I didn't see what Frankie said until you just read it, and I think he's right. If he's going to play, maybe put him in a deeper role, because it's no good when your strikers having to come deep and try and win the ball, and then we he looks to play it out wide, but then we're moaning that no one's in the box, and it's because our strikers had to go and retrieve the ball. Bit like João Pedro, he's not up the pitch at the moment because he's having to do all the work in the middle and having to drop deep to win the ball. So I personally wouldn't start him the next game. Why Arohu hasn't been playing, I do not know. Sambalonga come on before him yesterday, and everyone in the crowd said the same thing. Like, why are we bringing him on before Arohu? Listen, a lot of fans are going to say a lot of different things, but we had Benfica fans in the replies when we announced Arohu saying they were disappointed that they didn't keep him and didn't play him as their first choice striker. Now, I know that means diddly squat. I think they said the same about Alexander Merkel being the next thing best thing since sliced bread. And look how that turned out. But, when you've got someone as highly rated as Arohu coming in from a big club like Benfica, to not be playing him and to be putting Britta Sambalonga over him, like, it's almost, he must be sitting there thinking, what the fuck have I signed up for here? Like, so it is frustrating. And the annoying thing is as well, I think he come on about the 80th minute yesterday, and he looked a real live wire. Wants the ball, you could see when he gives the ball, he's running into space, and he's always in that position where if he gets the ball, he will do some damage with it. So give him a start. Give him a start against Preston, I would. And maybe let Davies have the role of coming on for the last 10 and maybe trying to break up defences, or, hold the ball up. If we're 1-0 up, hold the ball up, come and play it in the corners, that sort of thing. Because I think after yesterday, 9 of the next 12 games are against teams in the lower reaches of the division. The only ones that we've still got to play that are really up there, if you like, is them lot down the M1 and Sunderland. We've still got to play those two. Other than that, the rest of them sort of aren't knocking on the door for playoffs. I'd say Coventry's probably the only one that's sort of in that area. So no disrespect to them clubs, but we've got to win them. We've got to win them games if we want to make playoffs. Because at the moment, I looked at the table before we come on, and with 3 points behind playoffs now, I think them lot have got the last playoff spot at the moment. They've got a game in hand on us as well. So, with 3 points behind, and they've got a game in hand on us, we need to be winning those games. So something has got to give. Something's got to change. So in long form to your question, I would play Arohu next game instead of Davies.
I think I agree with you as well. I prefer his movement as well. I think Keenan Davis is a bit static sometimes. With Rojo, he was on his toes yesterday, wasn't he? He was looking to make those runs. And it makes a defender's game much harder to be able to run after someone. If you're just going to stand there, you're easy to mark, you're easy to manage. It's difficult for defenders to defend when you've got someone running in behind you or coming short to collect the ball, dribbling past you. So I think at home at Vicarage Road against Preston, I think it's a perfect opportunity for Arojo to come in, but I just don't know whether Bilic would be bold enough to make that decision. But like you say, he's highly rated. The Benfica fans crave about him. He's obviously got a good pedigree, and I think he would do well. I think he just needs to get that first goal for Watford, and they're all flying. And we've got a good run of games coming up soon as well, which we'll discuss towards the end of the pod. But Mike, it was yesterday. It was another goal from a set piece that Watford conceded. Again, it's someone free at that far post, isn't it? And it looks like it's so easy to play against Watford at set pieces, isn't it? I think last season we conceded so many goals at that far post in open play, but now this season it looks like we're conceding loads of goals at the far post from set pieces, it's frustrating, isn't it, Mike? Because you put in a shift. The players put in a shift yesterday. The performance was much better than West Brom. It was just deflating in the manner of that goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you'd think they'd do something about it in training. I think Lou Orns tweeted saying that it's clear that Sheffield United targeted our set pieces because, I think Swansea did it, Blackpool did it, quite a few people have done it, the same thing, because they know with the zonal marking. Porteous is massively unlucky there, but it's just clear. It's just simple. You've just got to clear your lines. And even before that, don't let that man on the back post head it back into play. It's just simple stuff, which is frustrating as well. I wouldn't mind as much. I would mind, but I wouldn't mind as much if, they're scoring absolute screamers and you're like, right, okay, we're not going to deal with that, really well worked goal. But it's just so simple. You can cut it out. It's park football stuff, dog and duck league. And then I think my dad put a tweet out yesterday saying that's the difference when you're up there and forms in your side. They put their goalmouth scrambles away. We didn't, and it's frustrating as hell. And especially because the new two centre backs have been doing so well together. I mean, I think Hoots a yellow card waiting to happen every game, and he got another yellow yesterday. But I just think solidly defensive wise, we look more solid with Porteous and Hoot at the back. But yeah, it's frustrating to concede from another set piece because if you looked at the goals we've conceded, if we cut them out, I think we'd be in a much better place. And like you said there, Ben, it didn't sum up the game at all yesterday because I thought we played really well. I thought for the large parts, we had more of the ball, and I thought we went to second in the league and played that well. I was happy. I was.
Yeah, I think there was some good individual performances yesterday as well from Watford. I was impressed with James Morris again. He's doing well and he's making it difficult for Hassan Kamara to come back into the team. Gaspers looks like he's settled now, hasn't he? I thought Saul was better yesterday. I thought he was on it. He looked lively. Joe Pedro was maybe a little bit disappointing. Maybe wanted more from him. Actually, talking about Joe Pedro a little bit, Mike, do you think that maybe the armband is maybe affecting his game a little bit? Maybe
I don't know why we've given it him.
Yeah, same.
Is it because he's the star man, if you like, in the team? Is it because everyone raves about him? Is that why? I'm pretty sure. So. I'm pretty sure he doesn't
I don't know
speak
whether
English still.
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't speak English still. It's, so that can't be any good. I know we've got, quite a few nationalities in the team, but, that can't be good. But he's a great player, but is he a leader? I don't think so. But then again, give it to Porteous. Wasn't he captain at Hibs? I might have got that wrong, but, he's certainly a leader. Hoots as well. There's definitely players in that squad that I'd be giving the armband over João. I think as well, just to go on what you said there, João was disappointed yesterday. I think the reason we get so frustrated is we know what he can do, and he's not able to do it because he's having to do all the donkey work because no one else is doing it. He's having to drop deep. He's having to come and win the ball from sort of CDM role and then try and make things forward. If we had players in that position that could do that job, then we could say to João, get yourself up there. Don't worry about coming back. He's sorted it here. You get up there. We'll get the ball to you. And then you turn it on and do your thing in and around the box. And I can guarantee more goals will come from his game. I mean, he's got 9 goals so far this season already. He would have a lot more if he didn't have to come back and do all that dirty work.
Yeah. I just want him to concentrate on his own work, on his own game. I think at the age of 21, I think having the armband, it's a massive responsibility, and I don't know whether he's thinking about that a lot more than his actual individual game, because he offers so much to this team, and I just don't think it's a lot weighing down on his shoulders, isn't it? Having a captain's armband. Like, you think of what a captain would have to do. He would have to go into these pre-match meetings with a referee and the opposition captain before the game as well. Obviously, you got the coin toss and all that as well. And then you're the one the referee comes to whenever there's something kicking off on the pitch, and you have to try and speak to your teammates on the pitch as well. But I just think it's waning down a little bit. So I would love Bilic to take that off him. And I've seen a couple of people here saying who they'd like to give it to. Jess says she thinks that long term maybe it should go to Ryan Porteous. I would possibly look to try and give it to him now. It might sound silly, but I think he's a born leader, and he seems to leave everything on the pitch, and that's what you need from a captain. And he's a leader, he's a talker, he can organise things. But I just don't know whether he'll be given that because he's so early into his days at Watford. Joe Thomas says it's really odd. I'd have Hamza as captain at the moment, and then that brings up a good debate as well, Mike. Do you give a captain's armband to someone who's on loan at the club? Because there's no doubting Hamza Chowdhury's commitment. Yesterday, I put out a tweet on the socials saying about how impressive he's been. It's absolutely immense. He's got heart, he's got character, he's got desire. He leaves absolutely everything on the pitch, and he covers every single blade of grass on the pitch as well. Hamza Chowdhury, for me, if I'd love us to sign him at the end of the season, regardless what division we're in. But would you potentially give the captain's armband to someone who's a loan player?
If the club know that they want to sign him and they think it's going to happen, then absolutely I would. I get what you're saying. You wouldn't usually give it to someone who's on loan because they're only there for short term. You could argue, is their focus going to be on Watford for that entire period? But Hamza, like you said, brilliant player. I think he could very easily be captain material. It did make me laugh yesterday, though. He picked up another injury by the looks of it because towards the end, I don't know if you noticed this watching on TV, but he had to strap up his thigh, and it looked like he had like ice, and he heavily strapped it because it looked like he'd maybe done something to his hamstring again, possibly. And I don't know if people know that if he got yellow carded, he would have been suspended for the next 2 games. I don't know if that carries on or when the cut-off is, but it was almost as if the last 5 minutes he was diving into challenges to try and get that yellow card so he could have 2 games off and like recover from that injury he'd picked up. So whether we'll see him on Saturday against Preston, I don't know. But I think, like you said, he was superb yesterday. He's been superb last few games as well. And he's someone that we've been screaming out for in the middle of the pitch. But absolutely, I'd have him as captain.
Yeah, no, I love him. I'd love him to be signed permanently. I know before we signed him, he signed a 1-year extension with Leicester because he was out of contract at the end of his season. But they've obviously signed a 1-year extension. So if he has performed well at Watford, and if Watford don't want to sign him, other clubs might be interested and actually want to purchase him for a fee. So instead of losing him for a free at the end of the season, they can actually get something back. And I saw someone comment back on the Hamza Chowdhury post I put out on Twitter, and it was a Sheffield United fan. And he said, I thought he was the best player on the pitch yesterday, and I would like us to sign him if we go up next season. So he's catching the eyes of the oppositions now as well. And you saying about him picking up that injury, Mike, as well, it's worrying that it potentially could be another hamstring injury, but it didn't affect him, did it? He was still running around on one leg, showing more than other Watford players out there. And just, do you think that's possibly one of his best performances in the Watford shirt? I think Burnley away was a really good one as well. I think those two are probably his best performances so far I've seen.
Burnley at home as well. That tackle that he made to come back and win the ball from behind, that will stick in my memory for a long time. But I mean, I didn't get to watch the Burnley game, so I listened to some of it in the car on the way back from Lincoln, and like all you could hear, John Marks was talking about Hamza Chowdhury's popped up and won this. Chowdhury again. So I'm gutted I didn't actually get to see it on TV at the time because he sounded immense. But that yesterday certainly was here, there, and everywhere. And he's passionate as well. You can tell that he cares. He was gutted yesterday when that final whistle went. He felt like everyone else did in the crowd. You know, gutted that we didn't get that last minute chance, that last minute bobble in the penalty box. And you know, you can tell that he cares. You get some loan players sometimes come and like, they're committed to the cause, but they don't really give a monkeys because in the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, at the end of the season, I'm going back to parent club and then I might get shipped on loan to somewhere else. But you can tell Hamza cares about this club, and I must hold my hands up. Actually, I was quite critical of him at the start of his Watford career. I was abroad and we were watching the Norwich game where we won 2-1 at home, and I went on a lad's holiday, and one of the lads is a Leicester fan, and I said to him, I tell you what, I says, I've not been impressed with Hamza, but recently he's been absolutely superb. So hopefully Leicester will allow us to sign him even if we don't go up. I think, is there an obligation to buy him if we go up? Or is that with someone? I think that's with Davis, actually. But hopefully we sign him. That's the long and short of it. He's someone I can see at Watford for quite some time, hopefully.
Definitely. For me, I think he's one of the first names on the team sheet as well. When he had that injury a few months back, you could really miss him. And I said on the podcast with you, I said, you don't realise what you've got until you've lost it. And with Hamza Chowdhury out that middle of that midfield, it was horrible to watch him. You could see what was missing in that side and what he actually brought along. So to have him back, and he looks like he's got his A game back now. He's performing week in, week out, 90 minutes under his belts as well. He must have played one of the most minutes for Watford this season. I'll have a look maybe tomorrow, and I'll put something out on the socials to let everyone know how many minutes everyone's played so far this season. But I'd say Hamza Chowdhury's probably up there, maybe the third or fourth most minutes played. But yeah, fantastic guy. Joe Thomas says, I'll pay whatever Leicester asks for, regardless of where we are. He has to stay. He's a class act every week. Jeff says, hope Watford sign Hamza, but he seems to have a lot of critics amongst our fan base. Not sure why. He always works his arse off and is everywhere on the pitch in every game. Been impressed with him. So yeah, hopefully we manage to sign him regardless of what division we are in at the end of the season. I don't think it would cost too much, maybe a couple of million. But yeah, get him in and build that midfield round him. That's what I'd say. But yeah, Mike, yesterday we were on the end of that 1-0 defeat at Bramall Lane. How would you describe that performance yesterday? Was it an encouraging performance for the games ahead?
I think so. Plenty of positives to take out of it. I mean, of course, I was gutted when I left Bramall Lane, and it's never nice leaving a ground when you've just lost, especially when you're away. But there's definitely positives to take. I think Sheffield United, they didn't look great yesterday. As I say, it could have been a draw. They looked like they only had one sort of outlet, and that was when the ball went back to Fotheringham, he lumped it up to McBurney, and then they tried to feed off the scraps from that. And luckily, Porteous sort of won the majority of them. Yes, McBurney, very good at holding the ball up, but I didn't think they were, miles ahead of us at all. But lots of encouragement to take from that. And like I said, you look at the running who we've got. If we play like that against the teams in that sort of bottom half of the table, we should have no problem picking up the points. Famous last words, of course, and I'm sure people will come back to this clip when we get spanked and, finish 13th this season because we've been crap. But no, in all seriousness, lots of positives to take, I think. But why are we so insistent on trying to walk the ball into the back of the net? We are not Arsene Wenger's Invincibles. Every time, it's like they're trying to find, or it's like Bilic has said to him, before you score, you need to make 15 passes and then you can score. It's like a training drill. Just get the ball. Don't be afraid to shoot. Too many times yesterday, you'd think, go on, hit that. And then he'd get the ball, he'd look up, he'd try and play in a pass and cut it across and have the easy tap in. Don't, just get your shots away. It's so frustrating.
It really is. I think there's been no identity really for Watford lately, has it? And Slaven Bilic has maybe alluded to this lately in the last couple of press conferences. He's kind of said that he's not really had time to work on a pattern of play since the World Cup break, and because of all the injuries as well, it's made things difficult for him. But I thought from the West Brom game last week on a Monday to yesterday's game, there was an improvement in performance, and I kind of saw a little bit of improvement in like maybe patterns of play. I thought second half, I thought the plan was to try and give a ball to Ismaila Sarr a bit more. And I think now, like yesterday, you got to remember, yesterday was the first time that Bilic has got Loser, Sarr, and Pedro starting together for a very long time. Yes, Loser went off after 60 minutes, but it was all probably pre-planned. But Medics actually told Bilic that he only had 45 minutes in him. Bilic asked Loser at half time, "Are you okay? Can you carry on?" And then it was decided that he was only going to get another 10, 15 minutes out of him. So that's why he got substituted on that. But I think it's encouraging knowing that all these players have now came back, and now Bilic has got them back. He's got time to actually work on something on the training ground. Let's be honest, he was playing. It was really difficult for him to try and fill holes with round holes with square pegs, wasn't it? Basically, Mike. He was basically just putting a team together to try and compete. And now he's got the players back. We can compete and do it with a bit of style. Are you encouraged about the weeks coming ahead?
Yeah, I said to my brother and I said to the missus yesterday, I says, you know, the fact that we've got all these injuries coming back, providing we all play, you know, to our best of our strengths, then absolutely, why can't we? You know, you look at the squad that we've got available to us. How many other championship teams in this? Well, how many other teams in this division? Sorry, would say we want that team. We'd love to have that team at our disposal. I think you'd find it a lot more than people think. We've got a very talented squad. We've just got to use it correctly. I've seen a lot of people digging out Bilic, and yeah, it's not been great under him. I can't remember how many games he's won. I think he's won 10 games in 21 matches. That might be wrong, so don't quote me on that one. I think that's only league games.
You can't be throwing numbers about, Mike.
No, I worked it out the other day, and I promise, I swear, in 20 matches, it was before the West Brom game, he'd won 9 of those games. League, I'm talking about now. But I think, and I'm sure we probably said this on the podcast before, but I think let's judge him now that these players are back. Too many people have been digging him out. Bilic isn't the right coach. He don't play a style of play. I agree. You know, we don't have a style of play. We don't have a pattern of play. But now that these players are coming back, look at Loser, for example, yesterday. He was told he could only play him for 45 minutes. That's not Bilic's fault. When these players have been given the all clear to play 90 minutes, let's judge the team from them. And, you know, these next few games, let's start, you know, let's get behind the team. I'm sick of this negativity on Twitter all the time. There were positives to take out of yesterday, but again, it's negativity. Bilic out, Bilic in, Bilic out. I'm sick of it. Players are coming back. The squad's going to be at its, you know, strongest. Let's get behind the team. These are the biggest 12 games of our season. Let's get a good run going, get into the playoffs, and the playoffs is a lottery. Let whatever happens happen.
Well, while she was doing all of that, I actually counted the wins that he's actually had, and it is 10 games he's won as Watford manager. So I'm very impressed with that. But yeah, we was going to discuss this whole social media situation with Slaven Bilic because lots of fans are starting to question him. Lots of people are saying that it's time for him to go. But these fans don't say it off the back of a Watford victory. It's as soon as Watford have it like a defeat. And you got to remember, we went to second place Sheffield United yesterday. The performance was actually better than the game we actually performed in against West Brom where we won. So there's small signs of encouragement for me, and especially like you say earlier, the majority of our games now are against teams in the bottom half of the table or just below Watford. So we've got a very favourable run in left to try and put a push on for promotion. But I'm the same as you. I'm fed up with going on social media after every game. It's predictable. You could call it before the final whistle. You're going to see people question Bilic. You're going to see Bilic question his in-game management. You're going to see him question his substitutions. You're going to see him just say Bilic out because it's been another Watford defeat. But for me, Bilic has done an okay job with Watford. He's came into Watford where we had the most horrendous history list I think I've ever seen in football, and he's managed to get results off the back of that. But now he's got his better players coming back, and now he's going to be able to work on actual style of play and try to get better performances out of the team. And I just think that we will start to see a bit of momentum now with Watford, especially with we've got 3 home games out the next 4 games at Vicarage Road. That's massive for Watford. We've not had that probably all season. And they're against decent sides where you think you are going to turn up and get 3 points. So for me, it's Bilic in, and I'm fed up of seeing Watford changing managers all the time. I don't want to be onto a 3rd manager of the season. It's embarrassing. I don't want to go into work and stand up for Watford again saying, oh, yeah, but we needed to make the change. Its performances were downhill. But let's all stop being so reactionary and just stick with the managers till the end of the season. If we don't make the playoffs, we don't make the playoffs. We build a game for next season. Yes, we might not have Sarr or João Pedro, but if I'm honest, I think this squad needs a massive rebuild. And I think the money that Sarr and Pedro generate will probably benefit Watford in rebuilding this squad, especially when you've got the brains behind the scene of Helen Acosta and Ben Manga with their scouting network. I do think that Watford will cope if I don't get promoted this season. I know there's lots of fans out there that think we'll struggle and financially and all that. And I understand your concerns about that, but my honest opinion is I think we'll be okay. So I don't think it'll be the end of the world if we do miss out on the playoffs this season. And if we do, we'll shake hands with Slaven Bilic, and I'm sure he'll be the first one out the door at the end of the season. But let's try and build again at the end of the season. Let's not build now with 15 games or so left in the season, because I can't keep on doing these new manager podcasts, Mike, during the season. It's a joke. But for you're the Bilic in camp as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I agree. We have a particular pattern of play, and maybe not a great deal has changed since Edwards, but he has been dealt a bit of a duff hands. He's had all these injuries. Like you said, look back at the Norwich game. I think after that, was it 15 injuries we had? Maybe more, I don't know. And now he's getting the players back in. So, I'm sick, like you said, even if we win, we beat West Brom and there were still people moaning on social media. I thought, bloody hell, man, like we've won. You can't win. I don't care if we play shit. If we score more goals than the other team, I do not give a shit. This is the championship. Sometimes you win playing well. Sometimes you win playing shit. That's football. So, it just frustrates me. But yeah, Bilic, he's quite clearly a good manager. He got West Brom promoted. I think Joe's just said there that he got West Ham into Europe. Got to the quarterfinals of the Euros with Croatia without his 2 best players. So, he's not a bad coach. He knows what he's doing. So now that we've got these players coming back and they can play more regularly, let's give him the time. Let's get behind them as well. Because the atmosphere at the Vic, the last few games, I've watched the games, and it's not there. You're turning up, and we all know how much of an effect the crowds can be. Crowds have won us games before. You look at the Liverpool game, the 3-0. Yeah,
look at the Luton game as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's get behind the team, and we've got some winnable games coming up now, hopefully. And I'm sure everyone will be singing. Hopefully, everyone will be singing his praises come the end of the season. But let's just try and get on as good a run as we can, get into the playoffs in good form, and then the rest will take care of itself. Form counts for nothing in the playoffs. So, yeah, I'm firmly Bilic in, mate. 100%.
Yeah, and Joe Thomas says he's Bilic in as well. Jess says, for me, Bilic needs to stay and be given time with his fully fit squad. But I do fear for him if we don't win the next 2 games. And I understand that. I would probably fear for him as well, only because we know what Gino's like. I just hope that Gino stands strong and isn't trigger happy this time. But Gino's Gino. That's what he likes. But Mike, we've said about Watford slipping down to 8th in the table now. I think even if we beat Preston and Luton lose, I don't think that's enough to get into the playoffs, because Luton's got a better goal difference as well. Do you think this Watford side's got enough to secure a playoff place at the end of the season?
100% we have. And even if we do beat Preston and Luton lose, as long as our points tally is in reach of those in the playoffs, I'm not too bothered about goal difference at the moment. Yes, it might come in handy. You always look back. I remember we played Blackpool last game of the season in 2008. I was mascot at Blackpool, and we got into the playoffs because our goal difference was better by 1 than Wolves. So 100%, I'm under no illusion that goal difference is huge. But as long as we're still, on the same points as the playoff people, then that's all right with me. We can worry about goal difference with a few games to go. But I think 100% we can make playoffs. This squad, if we had this squad that was fully fit for the whole season, it's good enough to be winning this league, in my opinion. But unfortunately, we've had rotten luck, as we've just talked about. So I think we'll secure a playoff spot. I've under no illusion that we will. And I think the next few weeks will throw up a good few results. And hopefully, a bit of positivity back in the Watford camp, and everything will be will be all good.
Okay, I think we saw Watford do a late run together last time it was in the Championship, wasn't it? We put a massive, big run of results together, but I think maybe Watford had better points at that stage of the season. But I think we can definitely do something similar. I know we've not done anything like that this season because our results have been so inconsistent. I think the most we've done is back-to-back wins. We've not won 3 games consecutively, I don't think, this season. If I'm wrong, please pop it into the comments in that. But I just think our main issue is scoring goals, isn't it? And I think there's been 9 games this season where Watford have actually failed to score, which is huge. And also, we don't score enough goals in games, whereas we scored 3 against West Brom on Monday night. But the last time we actually scored 3 goals or more was back in October against Luton. Aside fighting for promotion, you've really got to be scoring more goals and putting teams to bed. Watford are only managing to score 1 or 2 goals against teams and getting the 3 points. But I'd like to see a bit more firepower, a bit more freedom. I want to be entertained, and I don't feel very entertained watching this Watford team. But hopefully, with these runner games coming now, Mike, we'll see it. But just before we wrap it up, Mike, we're going to mention about our next 5 games. And I say 5 games because I wanted to mention the last one because obviously it was a local derby, so I wanted to include that as well. So our next 5 games is Preston at home, then it's away to QPR, and we've got 2 home games against Birmingham City and Wigan Athletic, which is followed by Luton Town away in April. Those 5 games, well, the first 4 games are all very winnable. The Luton game is going to be tough, but I've included it into it because my thinking behind this is if you pick up 4 very good results in those first 4 games, that Luton game is going to make it look a bit easier than what it does right now.
Yeah, it is. And, I've no doubt Watford will make those 4 games as hard as possible for ourselves. So that's what we do. I think the Birmingham game, I think too many people are glossing over that as a win already. Now, I learned the other night that Troy's actually injured till mid-April, so he can't come back and have an absolute masterclass against us. But I'm also gutted for him as well because it would be his return to Vicarage Road. John Eustace, knows the club inside out. He'll want to get a win, no doubt about that. So there is that little bit of doubt. And, they've got a good performance in them. It's just at the moment they're not doing very well at all. Wigan Athletic goes without saying, we only just beat them at the DW. So I'm sure we'll make hard work of it at the Vic. But you'd like to think that we'll have enough for them. They look in real trouble at the moment. Preston, you don't know what Preston's going to turn on. You look back to the start of the season when we played them. I don't think they'd conceded a goal. They were very defensive heavy, and it was quite a frustrating day in Preston for us that game. But you'd like to think again we would have too much for them at the Vic. But I'm liking that the majority of those are at home because even though the home form hasn't been as good as it has the previous season we were in the Championship, I do still feel much more confident at home. So, yeah, if we pick up the majority of the points in those games, then, yeah, the Luton game won't feel as much as an uphill task as it does at the moment. Obviously, for obvious reasons, that game is going to be feisty. Not, as well because of Rob Edwards. It kills me to say it, but he's doing a fantastic job there. And they'll be up for it. And I think they'll be much more up for it than they were when they come to Vicarage Road.
Yeah, and if I can push you for the points tally that you think we might pick up from those 5 games?
So it's Preston, Birmingham, Wigan, and who? Sorry, before Luton? QPR away as well. You can't help but think that they will get a new manager bounce with Ainsworth in as well. So I think let's go 12 points. I hopefully don't have to tell you who those 12 are going to be against because I will get lynched. But 12 points out of those 15, I think.
That's a decent return.
What about you?
Well, I'll just read out the 2 we've got in at the moment in the comments. So Joe Thomas says, I think we're going to get 11 points from the 15 there. I'll be delighted with that. Let's get behind them and hopefully we'll be above the scum again after the derby. Jess says, I think we'll get 10 points from those games. Looking at it, I think 11 as well. I think 11. I think the Preston game will be a win. Yeah, no, I'm not going to say who we're going to win against in that. I'll throw myself right under the bus, but I think 11 points it's a good tally to get. But ideally, you need to be picking up maximums in those home games if you're serious about getting into that playoffs position, aren't you, Mike? To try and push on and bring that momentum into the playoffs, semis and final if you do get there. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting end of the season for Watford Football Club, and we knew it would be interesting. Following Watford, there's always something going on. They keep you on your toes, and this is what they're doing to us this season. Like we're talking off the back of a 1-0 defeat to the side that's second best in the table, aren't they? They're second in the league. They look like they've wrapped up automatic promotion, but we're not downbeat about it. We've actually found positives out of the performance, and we've found out. Yeah, we're positive for the rest of the season. We both think we can sneak into the playoffs. We put a run together, and hopefully, playoffs is a lottery, and who knows what will happen. But yeah, this is what Watford Football Club does to us. It always drags us back in, doesn't it? With the slightest bit of hope. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for watching today. Thank you for getting involved with your comments today as well. If you like the video, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel as well, hit that subscribe button. And if you're not following us on Twitter, get over there. I think we're 1 follower short of 4,000. And so that'll be a massive achievement for me and Mike to tick off. Me and Mike started this up during lockdown, and it was just 2 mates chatting about football, and we can't believe where we've taken it to. So yeah, massive achievement if we can hit 4,000 followers on Twitter.
We've done it, Ben. 4,001.
4,001.
4,001.
Let's put out that little poster I created yesterday. Then let's celebrate. Crack open the champers. Yeah, but yeah, thank you everyone for your continued support. Me and Mike really do appreciate it, and I will be back to discuss the Preston North End game. What's your plans next week, Mike? Are you around to watch the Preston game?
No, I'm not, which is annoying because one of my best mates who lives in Birmingham is a Preston fan, and he told me the other day that he's got tickets. So I was like, "Oh, mate, I didn't think you were being serious." I'm going to manage my team, and then I'm going to watch Nottingham Panthers ice hockey. We've got tickets in VIP, so I'll not be able to watch it, which is annoying. But I'm hoping. Really, really hoping that I can get down to the Birmingham game. I'm going to try and drive down to Watford for the Birmingham game. So hopefully I'll be at that game. So yeah,
that'll be decent. All right, then I'll definitely get someone lined up to come on with me for the Preston game, and Mike will try his best to come down for the Birmingham game as well. And I've actually got tickets for the QPR away game, which I'm looking forward to as well. It's my second away game of the season, so I've set. It's difficult for me to go now with a little one and that, but I set a target for 3 or 4 away games this season. So QPR will be my second, and then probably my final one will be Coventry on the bank holiday Monday, which Mike's going to go to with his missus as well. So yeah. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I know we've carried on a bit longer when we tried to wrap it up 2 minutes ago, but we're wrapping up right now. See you later. Come on, yours.